Okay, can you tell me when and where were you born?
I was born in Channelview, Texas, which is like kind of the boonies in Texas, kind of further out. That's where I was born, but I was raised in Houston.
Okay. And so, can you tell me the household that you grew up in? It could be the relationship dynamic with your parents and your sibling, the language you speak at home, or like the food you have.
So, this is before my brother was born. My parents had me at a really early age, like not really early, I guess it's like normal now. It's like they had me at 21 and 23. So I grew up in Bel Air in Houston, which is like Chinatown, and we used to live in like this really small apartment. It was kind of like, like old, like moldy. Um, I don't really remember much. I just remember like during that time, my mom was taking care of me. And I kind of ate like small portions, but most of the time it's like rice or like some sort of protein. My mom stayed home, or sometimes she worked as a hairstylist. My dad, before he had me, my mom said like before my dad had me, he always like would hang out with friends or like do stuff. But then whenever I was born, I think he got into like technical school, and so he kind of became an IT person. And from there, whenever I was younger, he started just like becoming specialized in that and started working. Um, but back then, I just remember we didn't have much. We used to just like eat like on the coffee table, like on stools, and it was just like the three of us. From what I remember, it was like I was a kid, so like I was pretty happy, I guess. My brother was born, or my relationship with my mom when I was younger was I mean, she was my mom, she raised me, and I was pretty close to her. That changed as I grew up. And then my dad, I've always been like a daddy's girl, even though he wasn't at home. Like I've always like been closer to my dad. But whenever my brother was born in 2002, we moved out of the apartments and got our first house in Houston. But before then, we used to like hop apartments a lot, and they were still kind of like the same condition, like very broken down and not that great. But growing up, let's see, I guess like to my teen years, this was like whenever we lived in the house together. It's our first house. And I kind of started butting heads with my mom. It's like the typical like tiger mom relationship where I wasn't allowed to do things. I wasn't allowed to like express myself or anything. I just kind of like did what she told me. So that's whenever we kind of like started fighting a lot, and we didn't really agree on a lot of things. And my dad, for the most part, always just like worked because he didn't want to like stay in the house. But my brother, whenever we were younger, we were not that close. I feel like our house was kind of like divided. It was like he was closer to my mom, I was closer to my dad. And it was just that way, like like childhood or like teen years. It wasn't until maybe like after my parents' divorce, which was about like 4 years ago, that my brother and I became like best friends. And we live with today we live with our dad, our stepmom, and our stepmom, but now my brother and I are like super close. And my mom lives at the first house still by herself.
Mm-hmm. So, was the first house that was in Chinatown still, or did you move to the
Um,
other part of the town?
so yes, the apartments were in Chinatown, but the first house it's in Houston. It's like near like Dobie High School, kind of like Pasadena-ish, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. So, what do you say are some of the most important values that your parents have instilled on you while you
Mm,
while you were
yeah,
growing
I
up?
feel like um I'm really grateful for my parents. I feel like what they don't know, or what they didn't learn when they were younger, was something that I had to learn on my own. Like for instance, like what I do now is like I used to be like pre-med, so it's like, and they wanted me to like follow that traditional route. But as I grew older, I was just like, I think there's like multiple ways to do things with my life. It's not just that one set way. So I learned a lot from what they don't know. But the few things I did learn from them that I keep close to me is that my mom is a very independent person. She's always been that way. And so she has always told me that I need to know how to take care of myself before I can take care of others. And so that's like one of the things that I kind of live by. I'm a very independent like woman. I try not to rely on anyone else. I think I can always do it myself, but I know like I do need help, but it's nice to have like my individuality. So that's something my mom taught me a lot. My dad taught me I get my softer traits from my dad. I think he's always about like, take care of like your family, or like, love your loved ones, spend time with them. Have conversations with people because you don't know what they're going through. So that's something that my dad taught me, kind of like always be kind to everyone. So yeah, those are like the two main things that they taught me or like instilled in me.
Yeah. And so what were some of your childhood hobbies? Do you still keep any of them to this day?
I feel like when I was a kid or growing up, I've always been creative. Whenever I was a teenager, that's whenever I kind of stopped being creative because like I was studying a lot, or I thought I wanted to be, become a doctor. So I just stopped doing artistic things. But after high school and going into college, I really embraced my creativity. It's just who I am. It's always who I've been. So now I still like, I'm still creative. I still like express myself in creative ways like photography or modeling, blogging, or designing. I guess those kind of branch off from drawing and stuff when I was little, or like I used to make cards or crafts. I still do that, but not as often. But yeah, I still keep my hobbies. I think hobbies are really important. Not everything you have to do is like, it doesn't have to always be like for a purpose. It can just genuinely bring you joy, and that's important.
Okay. So now I guess we'll talk more about your current career and college experience and that. And so could you tell me what school you're going to and also what your majors are?
So currently I am at the University of Houston as a psychology major and technology minor. My college career has been very odd because when I went to high school, I got my associates whenever I graduated high school. So I finished like half of my undergrad, and then I went to UT Austin as a biochem major, pre-med. That was my first year. After my first semester, I was like, biochem is not. I switched to nutrition, and then from there, I was like, yeah, I don't think healthcare is for me at all. So I took a gap year, which was 2017, 2018. So I just recently transferred to U of H, and I'm about to finish like next year.
Okay. And so what made you choose psychology and technology minor?
So recently I just claimed my minor, but psychology I chose because I felt like what I went through when I was younger, just growing up, and what I see in other people, I felt like I didn't understand myself like mentally. I didn't understand why my parents act a certain way that they did, like my mom. I didn't understand like, why do people do these things? Like, don't they know, or like what goes on in their mind? And I guess I wanted the answers to those questions. So I kind of chose psychology to understand myself and like the people around me more. And then honestly, I fell in love with it my first semester at U of H. I was like, wow, like this makes total sense because this topic, I could relate it to my life. And so that's what made it easier for me to learn and actually be interested in it. So yeah, that's kind of how I chose psychology. And I chose technology recently because I feel like that's just a part of where our world is kind of directing towards, like more like technological advances. Also, technology and psychology are such like a broad topic. I feel like I can incorporate like my creative interest in it because it's so like broad. Like I feel like psychology can fit in any field. Same thing as technology. Like we need those two in every field, and so that's why I chose those topics. And I'm genuinely interested in it. So
Okay. And so you stated that up until 19 years old, you had always been a pre-med, right? And you even trained to be an EMT during high school. And so
yes.
now you're pursuing a career in like modeling and fashion. It was a really big change. And so
Yeah.
it was, I think this is a very common question, but what made you, I would say, nurture a dream of medical school for such a long time? Is it the traditional expectation from your parents or, you know?
Yes. So growing up, I mean, all your only surroundings is what your family and your high school, which is not, or your classroom, which is not a lot of people. And I went to a high school that was like focused on medical field. So it was like a technical school.
Mm-hmm.
So I like throughout high school, I was like volunteering at like Texas Children's. I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician. So all my jobs were like towards kids. And one of the programs at the high school was to become an EMT, which I did my senior year. I guess like I didn't know. I mean, it kind of sounds bad looking back, but I was kind of oblivious to like the unlimited possibilities of the world. I guess my parents and my culture and what people told me what success was, which was like, oh, to have like this high status career, to have something stable, to make a lot of money, that is success. Like, or like the whole equation was like graduate, go to an awesome college, get that career, stable job, and then that's when your life begins. So I just kind of follow that blindlessly. But I mean, I do love helping people. Like, I love being social. I guess that's what kind of kept me going for so long. But honestly, looking back, I really don't know why I stayed in it for so long. I guess I just didn't really question what else was there for me. It was just something that was like everyone around me influenced me to think. And I guess back then too, I didn't know myself enough to even know what I wanted. So yeah, and then also it's just like my family, the cousins that are successful were like doctors, like the ones that were like highly praised in our family were like married and they were like a doctor or lawyer or some sort of like career in that way. So I was like, oh, okay, I guess I should bring like some, like my parents worked so hard for me, I should probably listen to them and do something for them to kind of show my gratitude towards them. I guess that's what my motivation was back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so when and what was your first experience with modeling like?
It was awkward. So how I started modeling was a bit random. Because I felt back then, looking back, because I didn't live my true self, I had a lot of insecurities and I didn't have any confidence. I wasn't myself. I was just listening to what everyone else wanted me to be, and I cared about what my parents and what my culture or like whoever looked at me, I just cared about what they perceived me as. So back then I can honestly say I didn't feel beautiful, even though I probably faked it. It wasn't until my first year in college I was at UT. My first love, or like my ex-boyfriend, my very first one, like broke up with me, and I felt like that moment my world shattered because I became codependent on him. Around that time, I wasn't really close with my family. I was kind of questioning like, who am I? Because I was failing in Austin. I was failing school. So I was just like, who am I? And I just randomly reached out to this photographer in Houston and said like, hey, like, I want to take some pictures. Can I like, book a shoot with you? And the intention behind it was just that I wanted to feel beautiful. I wanted to feel like, I just want to have some nice pictures, right? Like, I just wanted to dress up and like have some nice pictures of me. Like, why not? And then I did the shoot with him. or with that photographer, and my first shoot was really awkward. Like, I didn't know how to pose. I felt really weird. I was like all shy and like body conscious. But then the photos, when I got them back, turned out really great. And whenever I posted them and then he posted them, a lot of people saw me through social media, and they just kind of started like DMing me saying like, oh, like I would love to like, you know, collab with you or shoot with you. And that's really the beginning. And also during that time I became a blogger. And so like a lot of photos were being like made of me for my blog. And so that's like how a lot of people kind of discovered me from there. So yeah, that's how I started. I was 18. Yep.
Oh, 18?
Yeah, I was 18.
You really don't know what's gonna lead you right away.
Nope.
And so how did the transition happen? How did your family react to it?
My family, not just like my mom and dad, so they were like divorced already, but my family, like both sides, they thought excuse my language, but they thought I was a slut. They thought like why is she showing more body, like why is she dressing this way? Because before I used to like dress like very like not conservative, but just like simple. Like I didn't really care about fashion. I just wore like jeans, berries, t-shirt, ponytail. I mean, I'm wearing a t-shirt and a ponytail right now, but like like back then, like that was, I didn't really care about what I looked like. I was just like whatever. But you know, when I started taking more photos and I saw how confident and like beautiful I looked in those photos, it kind of made me take care of myself more, and it made me like, you know, exercise and like, I don't know, just like take care of myself. And because I did that, I grew more confidence. But yeah, my family took it as like, what are you doing? Like, why are you wearing these crazy clothes? Like, why do you look crazy? You know, like they're kind of like shaming me, like you're a slut, like you're showing too much skin, and like what would people think of you? Like, why are you doing all this stuff? So that was the beginning. But now like they're really supportive. It took like a couple years, but they saw that I was happy. They saw that it's like more like an art or like an expression or like how I express myself, and they really just kind of, I mean, they can't change me now, so they're like, you know, like you're happy that you get to go on trips, you get to go on like fashion shows, so like who are they to say that like anything? So now they're supportive, but in the beginning it was very rocky. Like yeah,
I can imagine. I can totally imagine that. So did you have a lot of sit down talks with them, or you just like keep silent and do your things to prove that it's something you're serious about?
So growing up, I feel like this is kind of like what a lot of like Asian Americans experience growing up. For whatever reason, we don't really openly talk to our parents. It's not that we don't want to. I feel like there's like a communication border, maybe with like the generation or like how they were brought up and how we were brought up is like different, so that we can't understand. But because of psychology, because I was like, you know, being more aware of how to communicate, I started to talk to my parents, or like at least my dad, more, because my mom and I weren't really like on talking terms after high school. But I started to kind of like communicate to my dad more, like saying like, yes, like I do this, like it makes me happy. And you know, like he doesn't really understand, but he saw that me being consistent with being creative or whatever it is that I choose to do, he saw that I always like did what I say, and he saw that I was happy. So I openly share stuff with him, but it took many years to achieve that. But also a couple years ago too, a lot happened in the past 3 years. My brother actually came out. My brother's gay, so around that time it was like, I think I told my dad like, oh, like, you know, in this world where no one really accepts him, like why not make our house a place where he's accepted? You know, either choose to accept him and love him, or reject him and he's gonna like run away and you're never gonna see your son really, or to get to know him at all. And so I think that like kind of put my dad in perspective, and ever since then, really, my brother is out, we're both creative, and he just sees that we're happier, and he sees that like, you know, being open and just like communicating, just like if it's like, even if it's little, like, oh, like I'm not feeling happy today, or like, oh like there was a bad day at work, I don't feel like talking, it really changed our family dynamic and how we communicate. So now we like tell him, you know, like I feel like parents should know, you know, what their kids are up to. And so we share little, you know, things here and there, but obviously like for instance, like whenever I started becoming like a freelancer, I didn't tell him until after I do it. So I feel like I kind of tell him whenever it's like I'm officially doing it, not like where it's too premature. Because if it's too premature and I'm telling him like, oh, like I'm gonna do this, never do it, it's like he's not gonna like believe me. Mm-hmm. So I always tell my dad openly once I kind of like halfway done it or I've done it, so that he's like, oh, okay, like I see you do it. So yeah.
So have you ever found yourself in a dilemma? Like, you know, like this career path is very new and some people might think of it as like unstable, like unrealistic, I might say. Yeah. We hear that a lot. We hear that a lot, right? So have you ever, and you know, so being surrounded with an Asian culture where everyone is like either a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, have you ever found yourself had concerns over how your future might turn out? Or
definitely, yes. Whenever I told my parents that I failed my first year of college and that I didn't want to be in medical anymore, which was like 18 years of my life, they were devastated. They were like, you're just gonna fail in life, and they just, you know, like they worried. So they were just like, you're never gonna go back to school, like what are you gonna do with your life? And those questions are really hard. And even whenever people now, even there's some family members now that they still don't understand, like I run into those dilemmas, like even, you know, as like a model, they're like, that's not even like a stable thing, or like it's not gonna last long. I kind of mentally exercised that. I accepted it. I'm like, okay, like that's how they perceive it. That's how other people may perceive this field, whether it be like creative or an artist or whatever. That's how they perceive it. Mm-hmm. But they don't know themselves because they're not doing it or they're not trying it. And so I listen and I'm like, okay, like you have very valid points, but I think because gradually throughout the years, like those little victories I've had, like, you know, like booking my first paid modeling job, or like going to New York Fashion Week, or like flying to a different state for modeling, or making money online, or like starting my own little thing online. Like I feel like those little victories really help me build my confidence. I'm like, oh wow, like I can do this. Like this is something that's possible. And not having anyone around you that's doing the same thing as you, it can be difficult because it can make you feel lonely, because you can't, like, you know, I can't go to like my cousins or my friends or anything and say like, oh, like how do you do this, or like how do I set my rates, or how do I, you know, like how do I do this? Like you really actually have to figure it out on your own. I guess that's like the hardest part, where it's like you're kind of like alone in these decisions. But I don't know, I think I kind of fell in love with it. The fact that it is uncertain, the fact that it's unstable, I think that's what makes it exciting and makes it something it has plenty of room for innovation and growth. Because even like now, social media, like a decade ago, it wasn't what it is now. So imagine like another 10 years, it may be stable and it may produce even different types of jobs that we may not have now, or definitely not back then. So that's something that I kind of keep in mind, that like everything's kind of uncertain. Like even if you went to school and got a degree, like look, for instance, like right now, like, I mean, I feel bad for the class of 2020 because like they worked so hard to graduate this year, and like look what happened, like or look what's happening, like everything's uncertain. like Harvard's free online. It's like like life in general is so uncertain. So I always think like, okay, so I'm not in control. No one's in control. So might as well kind of like make those little decisions and decide what I can do right now, like myself. And I guess that's like how I kind of cope with it, and like how I kind of try to explain to some people, like, everything's uncertain, so might as well do something that you're certain of, which is like, like you're certain, who you are, what you can do in any situation. So why not? Like, why go off of something that someone else is telling you? Why not like seek those answers or try to problem solve it yourself? So that's what really gets me going in those uncertain times.
Yeah.
But it's exciting. I mean, it keeps you on your toes.
No, it's very valid though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as a full-time student and doing modeling and all those creative things at the same time, how difficult it is for you to like search for job opportunities? Do you have an agent that take care of it for you, or you do it all by yourself?
All by myself. So it's actually interesting on how like the past 3 years, or how I've kind of like evolved, and how like modeling has helped me get to where I am today. So yes, I'm a freelance model, so that means I book my own gigs. I, go to local businesses, and I just like kind of meet people, and it's like word of mouth. It's like, oh, like she worked with me, she's great, and they recommend me to someone. So it's kind of like how that works. Or you can also pitch yourself, like how I got into New York Fashion Week. I just reached out to brands through email or through social media, and I'm like, oh hey, like, I'm a petite model, I'm based in Houston, and like I love your brand, and like we just pitch yourself like a business. It's like, it's really like that. And if they like you, they'll book you. If they don't, then that's okay too. You just keep trying. But I do everything myself. I do eventually want to be signed to an agency or have an agent for my modeling career, because now I'm kind of like going into like social media managing, or kind of going into that kind of aspect of the creative or fashion field, because it's something that I know I can do like super long term. And something also, like, if you are a model, usually it's not their only thing. I mean, unless you're like up there, like celebrity status, that's your full-time gig. But for the most part, everyone or whoever's a model has like other things too. It's not like, I mean, not saying that you can't do it full-time, but for me, I just like having multiple things. So it's kind of like not a side, but it's like one of my main sources of income. But yeah, I do everything myself, through email or social media. And because I started modeling, I learned how to use social media or like online to kind of like make money or find connects, or how to like communicate online, which is also important nowadays. So that's pretty much on my own. I would love to have an agent eventually, but I don't think that will happen until maybe after this all passes.
So you talked about New York Fashion Week, and I think it's a very big thing. So can you tell me more about it? What did you do there? How did you land it?
Yeah, so oh my gosh, so luckily it was before all of this happened.
Yeah.
So I went in February. So I told myself for the past 3 years, or whenever I started modeling, I'm like, oh, like I want to go to New York Fashion Week. But I don't know, I guess I never like, I always felt like I wasn't ready, or like I didn't think I was good enough. It wasn't until this year, even though it's only been like 4 months in, that I told myself, like, my New Year's resolution was like, you're gonna do everything that you've ever wanted to do this year. Like, you know who you are, you have the confidence, like, you know what to do. So just go after what you want this year, 2020. And so I kind of like, I don't know if I like the phrase like manifesting, because I'm not too sure if I believe it or not. But I did kind of manifest, like, okay, like in 2020, I'm going to walk in New York Fashion Week. Like, that is what one of my goals is. I'm going to do it. And because I kind of made like a vision board, or I kind of like set that goal for myself, I just emailed for like months, and just like reached out to brands, and like kept my portfolio like updated. And then I got then I got a reply from a brand in New York that said like, oh, we would love to have you. And so they flew me out and they paid for part of my stay, because the first part of my stay, it was like my friend's birthday, so I paid for that. But like the rest of the time I stayed in New York, they paid for my Airbnb. And I've been to New York multiple times. I think 2 times before this past February, just for fun. But this time, since I've been there so many times, I'm like, okay, like I'm just gonna take it slow. Like I'm just gonna like go to my show and I'm just gonna network and hang out with people, eat, because I've done all the tourist things. But honestly, it was like, I don't even know how to explain it. It was very surreal. I felt low-key out of place because there's not a lot of, first of all, there's not a lot of like Asians in general in that industry. But then being Vietnamese, it's like you're a unicorn, because usually it's always like the Chinese or Japanese girls are like much more taller and they have like a different skin complexion than me. So I felt really honored, and I felt like this was like a dream. Like, wow, I'm here. I'm like 5'5", Vietnamese American, and I'm here in New York walking for a show. And it's honestly, it's hectic. Anyone that's ever been in a fashion show, it's nothing ever goes to plan. That's just how creative people are. It's just always like up in the air and spontaneous. So yeah, I went there and rehearsed. The day of the show, I had to wake up early, got ready for like hair and makeup, get dressed, and the show was at night. So like the whole entire day is like you get ready, practice and everything, and then like at night it's like showtime. And then after that, it's like I'm burnt out, I'm tired. And then yeah, that's kind of how New York went. I actually have film from that trip. I just haven't edited it to put on my YouTube yet. But yeah, that was my very first New York Fashion Week, and I plan on going again, and I want to go to the other fashion shows too. But we shall see.
So since you mentioned that you felt like a little out of place at New York Fashion Week, it kind of like reminds me of the two very extreme and contrasting sides in modeling and fashion industry. Or like one side is like a free platform for people to express self-expression or like creativity, and while the other side is like rigid beauty standards or like elitism or materialism. Have you ever like had thoughts about it, or have you experienced it, especially when you were in New York, when it's so glamorous and you're surrounded by all these like polished, imaged people? Have you ever experienced that, and what's your thought on it?
Of course. I mean, not even just New York, just even in Houston or anywhere really. What I quickly learned in the beginning is that, and this is something I feel like everyone kind of still experiences in their own way, you can't compare yourself to other people. Like a lot of people have a habit of that. And so in the beginning, where I like stopped that habit going into this industry, because what good is it if I kept comparing myself to like this other model, and like, like she's her and I'm myself. And but I think my habit before was like I would compare myself to the other Asian models, like even though they are like Asian, we're still not the same, because again, I'm like a darker skin, like I'm Vietnamese, I'm not them. And I've always felt like, oh, my nose is too big, or like I'm too short. But it came to a point where I think I realized in my head that I'm like, why am I saying this to myself? Like, you're beautiful. Like, I really embraced, like, I know it kind of sounds cheesy, but I really embraced who I am, like all my unique and different features I have, whether it be my eyes or my nose or just my personality. Honestly, that's a big part in any job, I feel, not just modeling or creativity. Like in any job, it's your personality and how you work with people. So I felt like that was what makes me different, and it took a long time, but I think being different, even though it has its cons, it's really, I think it's amazing. Like, I think, like, I'm Vietnamese American. Like, who else can say that they're a Vietnamese American model I don't see anyone else here that's that, so I'm here, and that makes me feel special and unique. And I think what really pushes me is that, like, to anyone who, to any other girl, or even my little like cousins, you know, like I know I have little girl cousins that look up to me, like any girl that maybe Vietnamese American or Asian American in general that want to do this but don't have the courage or don't know who to look to, or they don't see ads or campaigns or models that look like them in those events. Like, I think being one of them or being like a model, kind of, I don't know, how do I say it? It's like, because I mean, damn, let's say I'm like not in my shoes and I'm like a girl like that isn't in this field. I would want someone that looks like me in these catalogs or in these shows, because that would give me the courage and confidence to pursue that too. Like, oh, if she can do it, like I can do it too. And so I think that's what really pushes me when it comes to being in these types of shows. Like, you know, like y'all, I mean, the typical beauty standard is great. Like, they're amazing and beautiful, but I like to represent the girls that look like me because they're also beautiful and amazing themselves. So, yeah. I don't know if that made sense. I kind of jumbled it.
No, that totally makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
so, yeah. So, how did you improve your modeling skills? Because you mentioned you just ran away, booked a shoot, and then how do you improve yourself to who you are now as a model?
I think, let's see, like, first, as a first, like, I guess like a first impression, or whenever people say, like, when I tell people like, oh, I'm a model, I think they automatically assume like, oh, she's pretentious, like she's stuck up or arrogant, or like she's, you know, posh or fancy. I don't really think that's what modeling is. I really think it's like a lifestyle. It's like something to help you build your confidence, your self-image, and just like, you know, just something like self-care, like something that makes you feel good. And modeling, I never really thought it would be so involved, and I never thought it would be like a big part of my life. I think it just, honestly, I always do everything out of fun. Like, if I'm not having fun or I'm not enjoying it, then why am I doing it? Modeling was just one of those things that whenever I was going through something, like whether it be like a breakup or like something with my family, or maybe I'm feeling like sluggish or anything like in that nature, I kind of turned modeling into a form of therapy. Just like how, you know, with singing helps people with anxiety. So modeling kind of became like my source of therapy. It was like my escape. It was my like way of entering a different world and like showing different sides of myself, that it wouldn't make me look that crazy if I like walked out in like some sort of makeup or outfit look. But it was just, I guess, a form of therapy for me at first. To improve, that's a kind of hard question, because I think it's just the fact that I kept doing it, like practice, right? Like, whenever I collaborated with photographers, I became more comfortable in front of the camera. And then whenever I kind of evolved into going to shows, I practiced walking, which you would think is easy, but it's actually really hard because you have to do it a certain way. Like, you have to have a posture a certain way. Your face has, like, it's actually a lot of practice. I think being in front of people, like having all those eyes on you, I just became comfortable. It was just something that I kept doing gradually, that it became second nature to me. Also, practicing in front of the mirror helps. Like, I know it kind of sounds silly, but it's like, you know, dancing. Like, dancers dance in front of the mirror to see what they look like, or what, you know, what looks, you know, more smooth, or what flows. The same thing as modeling. I practice in front of the mirror to like kind of know like my angles, or what makes my body look good or what doesn't. Honestly, modeling is kind of like an illusion. Like, people think I have a nice body, but I'm built like a noodle. It's just the angle.
Okay.
Honestly, you get to know yourself like kind of physically, and then because of you taking care of yourself and everything, it builds also your inner beauty as well. So I guess that's kind of how
Yeah.
and practice it.
Yeah. So you mentioned like there's some postures that are very expected of models. Do you take any inspirations from any models, or do you learn from them? Do you have any favorite models?
I think I actually I don't really have specific like role models or models that I admire. I mean, I love Rihanna. Rihanna's not really a model. She's just like an amazing
It's
businesswoman.
gorgeous.
I have actually I have role models for business women, but when it comes to modelings or models, I take inspo from like many, just like even just like girls that just starting out in Houston or anywhere. Like if I see it on social media, well, first of all, like my social media, everyone I follow is just like everyone I know or who inspires me. So my feed is always like, you know, positive. So I take a lot of inspo from social media or like just girls in general. Just love girls. We're pretty. And I'm like, wow, like she's really rocking that outfit. I like her smile. I kind of take it like that. Or I just kind of watch on YouTube, like, oh wow, like she's really killing it. And I just kind of like pick it up like that. I guess like whatever I consume is kind of like how I learn. But yeah, I don't really have any like set role models like that. Just business women that are set role models.
Yeah. So I also found out that you had a YouTube channel. So what is the general theme of your YouTube channel, would you say?
My niche is definitely fashion. When I say fashion, specifically for photo shoots, like it's a lot of like behind the scenes or how my process of doing these types of shoots, whether it be like editorial or commercial, that's like how I kind of do fashion. It's not really like styling. I could do one like that, but I'm not really like passionate about styling unless it's like myself, because I don't think I can style anyone else. But also, I do love talking about psychology. Again, that's like one of my bigger passions. I feel like, I don't know. I personally watch psychology videos online, like it's like a positive message, or like for the girls that may not know what they're doing with their life, which is like, I mean, that's still me. But I like watching those types of like videos. So that's one. So it's fashion psychology. And I think overall it's kind of like life vlogs, but not like the vlogs where it's like what I do on a daily. It's like the interesting parts of my life, like the travel and like oh like oh I'm starting my own business. Like those are my life vlogs. But I guess like in general, my YouTube is lifestyle.
Mhm. So what are the reasons why you started vlogging? Did you want to document your stories, or like reach out to people that might have the same experience as you?
So I started a YouTube. My very first YouTube was whenever I was 18.
Mhm.
But it flopped because I didn't know what I was doing, so I kind of like left that. I launched this channel in November. Um, and if you actually see my very first video, back then, like whenever I was a kid, my brother and I used to love recording ourselves. Like I don't know, I was a weird child. I always like did weird things in front of the camera.
Mhm.
And so I guess it was always in me that I'm like, oh, I'm like comfortable in front of the camera. But I started it because I don't know, I just wanted to have fun. I wanted to have another platform to express myself. I feel like YouTube is a social media where you can actually be yourself, that you people can kind of see you in a different light versus Instagram. It's a lot of like the highlights of your life or like the prettiness. Twitter is just like your mind. TikTok is just weird. I have a TikTok, but like TikTok is like funny.
TikTok is so weird. I know.
Facebook's like for the family, you know, and like the people back in like Vietnam, like whoever wants to see me.
Mhm.
But YouTube was like something I feel like I could show my personality on.
Mhm.
So I just started it like that, and I realized that because of what I grew up, I grew up with childhood depression. So looking back then, I felt like I don't remember much, and the reason why I don't remember much is because I never I never like looked or like stayed present. I've always just looked at my past, or like I always like didn't see a future for me. So I realized, I think like last year, that it's really important to document yourself. I mean, it's kind of like self-involved, but it's really like you're never gonna live that moment again. So you should, I mean, not like always be on your phone, but you should like document it. Like, why not? You can look back and see how far you've grown. And also YouTube or the internet's forever now, I guess. So having that on there is timeless. So like whenever I grew up, if I decide to have kids, or or even my family or whoever, like they can look me up and they can see like, oh, like that's me at age 21. So I think that's like kind of the reason why I started. I just wanted to create, to document more, and have like kind of sort of like a time capsule for myself. That's really and generally why I started. But whenever I started, that's also how I feel like it helped with my modeling and my like social media career, because I had this new platform. A lot of brands were like, wow, like you have this now, that's awesome, like do you think you can, you know, promote our brand on your channel and we'll like pay you. So that was like another source of income, which is cool. Like I didn't have that intention, but I was like, oh, okay, why not?
And so yeah, so working in a modeling and fashion industry, your style becomes your identity. So how would you describe your style?
My style,
Mm-hmm.
it changes a lot.
Okay.
But definitely I feel like a big part of my style is reusing. So I'm a big like thrifty person. I like Depop. I like having unique pieces of clothing. Of course I have like the basics, like, you know, like the jeans or like the black top, the white top. I think those are like essentials for your wardrobe because you can just style those. But then like the unique pieces I like to support local or small businesses like boutiques. So I don't really like, I mean, shoot, like maybe one day I can afford like those name brands like Louis Vuitton and all that, but I don't really see the need for it, because even though you may have that stuff, that doesn't mean you have fashion sense. I'm just saying, like, just because you get the name brand stuff doesn't mean you have style.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm a broke college student, so gotta work with what I have.
Yeah.
So I like to go thrifting. I like the idea of like reusing. So whenever I get new clothes, I like donate, and then I get like I'll thrift like more clothes. So I stay minimal for the most part when it comes to like my wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
So I thrift. I support local or small businesses or boutiques, because I feel like I have control of like where my money goes. So if I know like, okay, I'm purchasing this shirt, I know I love it, so I'm like intentionally buying. I'm not just like buying to buy, as if like if I were to go to like a Forever 21 or something, like, oh, I'm just bored, I just want something new, I'll just buy it. I'm not really like that. I'm more of like, I intentionally buy things. I only buy things that make me happy. I feel like, I buy it because I'm like, oh, it makes me happy. I'm gonna wear it multiple times, and I know where my money's going. I know like me purchasing this is gonna go to this small business or like this individual, which I think is really cool. And also because I shop that way, it makes me shop online or Instagram in a different light, because I'm like, ooh, like I want to support like a designer that may not have been known yet. And because they're like an individual designer, they have more unique clothes. So I kind of like purchasing those. That's like kind of my style. Also, there's this, should I call them a startup? Well, okay, I'm gonna call them a startup, but there's a startup. They're called Rent the Runway, and their idea of shopping is renting. So you Rent the Runway is like you rent these high brand clothes, whether it be like dresses or jewelry or bags, for like a very affordable price, or you can even subscribe to them, and they send it to you. You wear it for like 4 days or one time, because you know how we are, you know, girls are like, we go to weddings or whatever and we only wear it once, or like for Instagram you're only going to wear like one outfit for a picture and then like you don't want to wear it again. So I found Rent the Runway, and I started renting from them, like also for shoots, like because I model, I'm not gonna wear this like extravagant outfit again, so I should probably like renting is cool and I can return it. So that's how I like kind of shop, thrifting, renting, and small businesses.
Yeah. So what is the most important to you when you're building your outfit or like you're styling your, your photo shoot concept? Is it about any like message you always want to convey, or is that like a sustainability of fashion, self-confidence, stuff like that?
I feel like, for of course, like whenever someone else books me for a job, I just kind of, I'm just the face. I just kind of show up and like wear whatever they want me to wear. But when it comes to my personal photo shoots, or whenever I get to control, like, okay, like this is my idea for a photo shoot and I want to do it this way, it always branches off of like, I get my inspiration from music. I feel like whenever I listen to a song, this is how my brain works. I listen to a song and then it like forms like this music video in my head. And then from that music video that I imagine in my head is kind of like the style of clothing I want. So let's say like I listen to, I don't know, like an 80s song, and I get like this like idea of like, oh, like I get this like music video of an 80s outfit or something in my mind. I kind of like shop or find those pieces, and that's how I style myself. But the past personal shoots I've done were, they had like a deeper meaning towards them. I think my first one was like kind of a lingerie shoot, and I was getting really tired of seeing girls just doing lingerie in the bedroom, which is, like that's a place where you're supposed to wear lingerie. But I'm like, like, what if I wore lingerie outside, but like made it into like a unique editorial way? And I did that. And also, I feel like also being an Asian girl, we're kind of like portrayed as being cute, or innocent, or like a like a little China doll, or like I feel like that's how some people perceive me. But I guess the American part of me, I know I'm sexy. Like I know like I can be beautiful in this way, or like, or I don't know, I just want to own up to my body, like this is my body. It's like I can wear whatever I want to wear. I guess like that's how my first shoot was inspired, was like, okay, I'm sexy, I'm confident, and I can wear whatever I want. Like it's not that typical norm of like, oh, I have to be like conservative, or cutesy or adorable. Like I'm hot and sexy. That's what I am. Sometimes when but my most recent shoot, it was like this with this like neon tuxedo with like nipple tassels and stuff. That was definitely inspired by, I guess, just being unapologetically myself. I just, yeah, I always encountered that conflict with like, oh, like you're, Vietnamese American, like you don't fit in with the Vietnamese culture, you don't fit in with the American culture. And I don't know, I guess I was just kind of sick and tired of hearing that. And so that shoot, my last shoot, was like, you know what, like this is who I am, I'm both. Like I don't fit in either or. Maybe I'm just my own category, and that is totally fine. And I think it's okay. If it's okay if you feel confident covered up, that's awesome. Like if you feel confident wearing less, that's awesome too. Like I have control of that. All of us have control of that. Who are you to say, like who are you to say that I don't look good if I feel good? Like, yeah. So that's where it mostly kind of stems from. Most of the time, I try to just be myself, and because I'm being myself, hopefully that inspires other people just to be themselves, or other, Asian girls that may be like, oh, I want to do that, but I'm like scared and I don't know how that's going to look on me because there's no other person that wears it like that. So, yeah.
So yeah, so you talked about like the very bold side, very bold American side of yourself. And how about the Vietnamese culture? Have you ever tried like incorporate it into your outfit, into your styling?
So actually, there's a lot of amazing Vietnamese designers. They're very high end, which I think, I don't know, that's just amazing. Like there are like there's Vietnamese designers and like Asian like creatives out there that are super successful. I just don't know why like as a community we don't talk about them. Like I don't know why. Like there's so many successful, yeah. But I know for sure if I ever get married, I'm definitely going to have an ao dai, which is like the Vietnamese traditional dress. I just think it's absolutely gorgeous. I think um in my shoots, I actually had one shoot a while ago. It was very like it did have my Vietnamese culture side in it. I don't know if that's still up yet or still up, but I think the fact that, Vietnamese people, whenever you see them wear clothing or like the pop stars or the ao dais, is very like bright colors. Like they just wear all sorts of colors. And I think that's how like it kind of influenced my style because I love colors, like the like bright colors and even like the minimal side of like the Vietnamese style. It's like, white and black, or it's like even though it's like a neutral color, they have like very, I don't know, it's like a statement piece still. Like it may be like white, but it's like this cool like texture design that they have on it that makes it just unique.
Mhm.
So I think that's how the Vietnamese side like kind of incorporates in my style. It's definitely the colors that they use and the jewelry that they have. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so there's definitely a lot of like inspirational Vietnamese people working in the industry. Have you ever collaborated with them, or do you have any names that you would love to collaborate with?
So I mean, I love the smaller designers because I feel like they're like the ones that are eventually gonna get there. But it's so funny. My dad, whenever he was a teenager, he took this girl. Her name is Chloe Dowell. She actually has a
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
she's in Dry Village, right? I think I passed
Yeah
her
she
before. Yeah.
yeah she's in River Oaks and she won like a fashion runway.
Hmm.
My dad actually took her to prom.
Oh,
So
wow.
so like he's on like the Vietnamese TV. I don't know. He was on like the Vietnamese like some talk show. I don't know, but it was like her prom dress that she wore to their prom was her like very first dress she ever made, and it's like a picture of my dad and her. It's so
Oh,
funny.
yeah.
So whenever the beginning of my like I guess modeling career, um, I think that I rediscovered them. Like, oh my gosh, like Chloe Dowell, like she's Vietnamese and she's like a successful designer. Like a lot of people know her. Um, and so I reached out to her, I think through email, and I told her like, hey, like I'm Jocelyn. I'm like, I don't know if you remember him, but his name is Kong, and I'm his daughter, and I'm into fashion, and I kind of want like some advice. And at that time, she actually had like a fashion show. This was 20. I want to say like 2018, I think. I reached out to her and she was having a fashion show and in the I think like River Oaks or something. And she said come, and so me and my brother went, and that was one of the first fashion shows I actually went to see. I wasn't a part of it, but I got to see. And because I went there, I met other like Asian designers that were a part of that community too in Houston. Like there's Danny Wynn. He's also another like couture like designer in Houston. So I got to meet them, and from there I kind of like got to I kind of explored the fashion industry through them because I didn't know if I wanted to be a designer or did I want to be a part of the business side of it. I was really unsure back then, but I met them and I got to like talk to them, and they gave me some advice and they told me their stories, and kind of just I guess it's not like collaborating. I guess it was more like they kind of like sort of mentored me, or they just kind of like got to know me a little bit and gave me like valuable advice, and then kind of went off from there. But yeah, I think that yeah. I forgot the question, to be honest. But yeah, I haven't worked with, but I know like Chloe Dow and like those people.
Yeah. So that being said, do you stay engaged with the Vietnamese community at your either your college or your neighborhood? You stay engaged with them?
Right now, I'm not engaged with anyone.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, but I say for the most part, me personally, I kind of stay in my own lane. I try not. I mean, I don't know if it sounds bad or not. Like, I'm not super involved with any sort of community. Like, I am a part. Like, I'm like sort of like acquaintances with certain different groups of people. But I never actually would say that I'm actually like in just one. I'm kind of like that person that kind of like goes around, like they know who I am. I'm like, oh hey, but I'm not like super involved, or I'm not like super niche to like, oh, I'm only in this or I'm only in that. Um Again, I feel like sometimes I'm just in this limbo. I'm like in between, because I most of the time I don't really relate to just my Vietnamese side or my American side. Um, I think I'm kind of out of touch with my culture because my dad is a little bit more American than like the old fashioned, like traditional way of raising kids. And I'm not, my religion wise too, it's not part of my community either. So it's like kind of just in between. I think my only Asian influence is really my family. I think we're actually going to Vietnam. Not it was supposed to be this year, but next year. So that was my first time ever actually going there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah. And so for a Vietnamese American to pursue a career in modeling and fashion, do you find yourself sometimes limited to opportunities that, or do you think it's more open now?
I mean, I think there's limits. I like to say that there's no limitations. I do believe that anything is possible. Like I do think that there is a spot for anyone in any field that they may want to be in. But of course, there's going to be like limitations, because like it's the type of industry that I'm in. It's like of course like there's certain jobs or certain shows that require a certain height, or like the modeling industry. I don't want to say it's judgmental, but it's very like you are judged for appearance, which I think is I'm okay with it, like because I'm confident in myself. Like if this person doesn't think I'm gonna look, that's okay with me. It's nothing personal. I'm not ugly. It's nothing like that. It's just I don't fit the brand. But I think there's limitations sometimes where it's like okay, like height, or maybe I'm not like the skin tone. But I do definitely think the industry is changing, especially like now it's like becoming more inclusive when it comes to the LGBT or like the colored community, like or minority community. I think it's becoming more inclusive, but only time will tell, really.
Yeah. So
But what makes me feel better though is like whenever I feel discouraged, like oh like maybe this is not for me, I just go to the bread aisle in the supermarket and I just look at all the different bread. Like, they're all doing the same thing. They're all making bread, but they're all individually making their own money. So I feel like that's how I kind of think of any industry. Oh, like, okay, yeah, there's gonna be millions of people doing the same thing, but you're unique in your own way, or you're you. So there's a spot for you. I feel like everyone has like an equal chance for success or whatever they want. It's just a matter of fact if you want it that bad to stay and be persistent and like have hope and faith and continuing it. Yeah.
And so I also noticed that you have a stage name, right?
I do.
Yeah. So can you tell me like the origin of it? How did you come up with it? And
so my stage name is Joss Boss. It is still similar to my name, Jocelyn. But Joss Boss actually originated whenever I was in high school. I guess back then I'm still this way, but I know there's like a side of me that can kind of be bossy. It's not because I'm bossing you to be bossy, and also like, what the heck? Like, so I'm bossy, but like the guy that says all this stuff to you is not bossy. Like, I don't understand that. But I know what I want, and I'm open to like how other people may do things. But if the job is not getting done, I'm gonna like hold you accountable. Like I'm the same. Like I hope people hold me accountable. I'm very transparent. Like if I'm not doing something, then tell me. You know, it's not gonna hurt my feelings. So because I'm okay with that, I guess I kind of do that to other people. So whenever I was in high school, I was like president of my class. I was like in all these organizations, super involved in school, and I just got things done. Like whatever I put my mind to, I did it. And I guess it just people portrayed me as bossy, and I'm like, okay, like I'm bossy, I guess. And that's how I guess it kind of branched off because it rhymed. It's Joss Boss.
Oh, okay.
So,
That's pretty cool. Yeah. And so, how do you say you are using social media to advance your career?
um, social media, I think, is a very I think of it as a tool. Like I know, like it can be it can be just like you just sharing pictures with people, but I think it's a tool. I think it's a way of being connected to people, not just in your own community, but like to the world, the internet. Um, a I don't know. I think my mom or like my parents always told me, you know, like be careful what you put out there because it's gonna be out there forever. So I'm always like very like intentional with what I post. Um, because I know I can like one day maybe if I became something, people can like look me up and like I don't want anything that is bad to surface, right? So I'm always intentional, not always, but like I'm pretty intentional when it comes to posting. Social media has helped me because that is definitely the way people can find you, especially Instagram. Instagram is like one of the bigger ones for modeling. It's like a portfolio, like people just kind of like see you. Um, and it's just kind of like a way, like it's just another form of communication. I love talking, I love communicating. So it was just like another way for me to get my message out there to show the world who I am. Um, and it has helped me through my modeling career. It has helped me gain the skills of like, I guess like reading analytics and like, you know, it's kind of down to a science in a way, which is kind of, I don't know if it's bad or not, but like you can use it to sell things, you can use it to, you know, show that you support a certain group or a cause. And now it's kind of transitioning or helping me get jobs or not just like modeling, but now we're going into this age of, you know, social media or like technological like advances that people are realizing that digital marketing and like content creation is like really important for anyone's business or for anyone to kind of find their business. So it has helped me kind of like form my own career for myself besides modeling. I don't know, because it's so unstable or not like super unstable, but because it's still new in a way, I can kind of make something out of it for myself, and I like that freedom. And eventually I think it will probably become stable and like there'll probably be jobs off of it. But for now it's like it's a pretty cool thing. But also it can be mentally draining if you don't know how to you know, if you don't know how to not compare yourself or control or balance like how much screen time you have, because there's a lot of creatives or just in general people that do that. But I kind of, yeah, I just don't like the feeling of being drained or comparing myself, so I kind of take control of it myself.
So
You know?
what do you wish to see more on the social media platforms? It can either be, representation for a community or girl power in the fashion industry, something like that.
Um, let's see. I I know what I want to see less. um, but I think one of my bigger like inspiration or like hopes right now is my brother is actually okay, he's my best friend, so he's actually a singer and songwriter and musician. And I feel like as a community we notice that there's like no representation of Asians in the music industry. I mean, we have like BTS now, but they haven't even hit number one in charts or anything, but there's no representation of us in music, which I find like why? I want to see someone do something. So because my brother is pursuing that career, it gives me the chance to help him with branding or create content with him or for him. And I want to see more people release like meaningful music, like music that like back in the 80s is about like love, it's about like stories, it's about like it has some sort of meaning behind it besides like these TikTok or like singles that don't really I don't even know what I don't even know what the heck like Old Time Road is like about. Like I don't understand. Like I don't know if it's like I'm not old. I'm literally like 22. Like there's no way I'm at the age where I'm like this is just ruckus. Like I don't know. I feel like the creative. Oh my god, that scared me. That was just a win. But I think like the creative community or like some industries are kind of going towards like clout or popularity or just making like quick money and quick success, which I'm kind of getting tired of like seeing. So I want to see more like I want to see more art in any platform, music, digital, paintings, whatever, that has more meaning behind it, if that makes sense. Like hopefully after this corona thing passes, people actually realize like to spend time with people, to take like to actually value like certain moments and stuff that we take for granted. Hopefully, I don't know, when we come out of this, that there's just more art that means something besides like quick success or quick popularity. Like I want to see more inspirational things in that way. Yeah. Like wow, you put time and thought into that. Like there's more albums instead of singles. There's more thought into the picture that you planned instead of you just flexing money. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so what would you say is your ultimate goal?
My ultimate goal. Mm-hmm. My ultimate goal would just be doing what I love, which is creating. When people ask me like, oh, like what is your life's purpose? It's definitely creating. If I can do that full time in a stable way, that would be amazing. Just having creative freedom, like just if I want to have a photo shoot, I have a space for that and I can just do it. I think that's like my ultimate goal is to do what I love, which is creating, to always make like influential or inspiring content, some like content where it moves people, to do something, not just like have a quick like or subscribe. Like it actually says something to them to motivate them to do something maybe different. And I guess that's my ultimate goal. That's kind of broad, but I've always been the type, now I'm always the type of person to kind of gradually like evolve into something else. Like I'm not one of those people, I don't think I can be like, I want to be a engineer and do that. I'm more of like a system person. I kind of like form certain ways to do certain things and it takes me to a certain direction, and it's kind of like uncertain, but I don't know, that's how I function. That's how modeling happened. That's how getting into social media consulting happened. That all my best things in life happened that way. So I'm just kind of like, okay, like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So
that's my
I feel like we covered a lot about your current career, and I think for the last part of the interview, I want to like check in with how you're coping with this very unprecedented events. So, how, in what ways has the coronavirus epidemic impacted your life?
Well, I'm super blessed to be in the position I am in today during this crisis, because I know there's others that may not be as blessed or as lucky. What I feel I've learned through this, well, I definitely learned that I did not put as much time into my work as I thought I did before, because before I was always busy, but I felt like maybe I filled my time with hanging out or just keeping busy, you know, like I didn't actually like sit down and like focus on like what I want to do. It's nice because I get to stay with my brother a lot. I mean, we haven't fought yet, which is saying something, but I get to spend more time with my family. It's nice to slow down from like the fast-paced life I usually have. So I've actually learned how to cook. Yeah. That was something I was avoiding. Modeling is definitely different. Modeling is kind of put on pause right now, but I'm still content creating because I'm learning different ways to create at home or like in my backyard, or which is like it's kind of like a prompt. It's like, okay, like you're not allowed to do these things, so how are you gonna create?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I have to figure out how I'm gonna do that.
Mm-hmm.
But also like I guess I also established like a routine, which I felt like I lacked because I don't know, as I'm a bouncy person. I just love like being around, like bounce everywhere. It's just who I used to be, but now I'm a bit more grounded where I'm like, okay, like gotta wake up early, let me like, you know, exercise. That was something I was lacking. I didn't exercise. Like I'm Vietnamese. I have a high metabolism. Why do I need to work out? Like, but no, I like, you know, I started stretching and stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm in my early 20s. Maybe I should start doing something. Like, started reading. I mean, I've always read, but I've got to actually read more and learn more. Now I actually get to like choose. Like I still have online school, but because I have so much time now, I have like no excuse to, you know, be Facebook certified or Google Ad certified or read more books about whatever the heck I'm interested in. And yeah, I just started valuing like people more. I think I just became more aware during this quarantine. But it does make me sad to think about like what maybe other people are going through that I may not be aware of. But I just try to do my part in, you know, being safe, or for me at least, this is what I believe. I feel like even though it's not fully true, to make an impact in this society, it's like you kind of have to be at a certain like socioeconomic status to actually like, you know, kind of make a difference, whether it be like donating a whole bunch or, you know, like those higher ups are always like the ones that actually get to impact what's happening, even though like the little things matter too. But I eventually do want to be one of those bigger people to make an impact, so that whenever in the future, like if something like this happens again, or like maybe something else that happens, I can actually like play my part and, you know, do something. But I think, you know, wearing a mask and like staying safe, staying at home is like all I can do right now, and so that's just my part. But yeah, I think also health. If you have good health, you won the lottery. That's also something I realized too. I mean, I've been knowing that, but this is something that a virus is a virus is not contagious. But I cannot pronounce the word. But the virus can't see color. Like, I don't really like what's happening right now when it comes to like, oh, it's like the Chinese virus, or like if they see like Asian people out and give us a weird look. Like, I don't really like what's happening with that. And on social media or in general, it's showing some ugly colors of people that we may not usually see before this, which makes me a bit afraid. But I try to stay positive. I think that when we come out of this, maybe because of like what this is doing, maybe it will push those like creative like Asians or just like anyone in general to really do what they want to do, you know. Like, hopefully this like was like a realization, like, you know, like we can't control school, we can't control anything, so maybe we should just do what we want to do, because we really don't know how long we're here for, like how our health will be.
Yeah.
So I think that's how the virus impacted me.
Mm-hmm. So has the outbreak changed your, let's say, perspective about the future?
If anything, I'm actually quite I'm an optimistic person for the most part. For my future, or like for the future, not even just mine. I think that this virus is going to show those industries that may not need to be there anymore. I don't know what it may be, but like, or certain businesses that may not be necessary anymore. But I think that after this passes, that there's going to be newer opportunities or careers that are going to be there that may not have been before this. For example, like for me, I'm blessed to have known how to make money online, or I switched to becoming a freelancer social media consultant, because now people are really demanding content creation, because no one can, you know, go out and like do photo shoots, or like certain businesses don't have like advertisement or like content, so they're looking for people to make stuff at home for them so that they can post on their website, or like to stay involved with their clients. So I find that interesting on what's happening. Like, oh, we actually all have to communicate online now. There's some businesses that are realizing that social media is important, or that online presence is important. So they're looking for people that create, or that know how to work advertisements or SEO or anything in that nature right now, because like we're all at home, which I think when we get out of this, there's going to be the entrepreneurs, or just like people are going to notice the holes in the workplace, and I think it's going to have newer opportunities, and I think it's just going to be like a big change for us. I mean, it's already a change for us, but I think there's going to be like this, like, I don't know, I think it's going to be like there's going to be the room for innovation is going to be like in light. Like, I think there's going to be like, oh, okay, like, wow, like we didn't know that was there, so we should probably solve that. So that because there's more problems now, I think there's more room for innovation and solving, and yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's exciting, but at the same time, I'm tired of this house.
Very understandable. So you mentioned about health, and are there any other positive lessons that you learned out of this pandemic?
I've always respected the healthcare givers, but during this time, I'm like, wow, like you're out there risking your lives to save people, and that is amazing. Like, I think I've always respected them, but now I'm just like, wow, like y'all like I don't even have any words. I'm just like, wow, like I don't even know how they should get free therapy after this. I don't know what reward this is. Like they deserve like free tuition or something after this, because I'm like, wow, like we are lacking individuals in that career So I mean, I'm not, unfortunately, I'm not one of those individuals, but I respect and support anyone that's gonna go after that. But health wise, yeah, I mean, this quarantine is what you make of it. So I take up new hobbies, to do something new, try something new, try to find something online to make money off of. Like maybe apply for a new job online. Like, because everyone's remote, you never know. I know TikTok is hiring. But also I got to be one with nature. I think, like, go outside and walk, look up, look around. Even though this virus has been this way, I think it's interesting how there's more people being active. Like, there's more people at the parks. There's more people, I mean, they're not supposed to be at the parks, but it's nice to see that everyone's at a park now. I think it's interesting how what we kind of took for granted, like running or going to the park, going to the beach, or just like being with people, socializing. Like, I think it's interesting how this virus, although we're social distancing, has brought us together. And it has really kind of made people look out for each other in a way. Like, stay home. Don't be, selfish and buy up everything. Like, I think it's interesting. And also, like, small businesses that may be falling through the cracks right now, it's interesting how there's a lot more people pushing to support small businesses. So, like, instead of going to Starbucks, maybe go to your, like, local coffee, to go, or curbside. Like, I think it's interesting how that's happening. It's, like, nice to see. Yeah, I think that's a positive thing.
So this is a very random question, but I think it's very practical. So when this quarantine ends, what will be the first thing you do when you can go outside?
I'm going to go to Bel Air and eat Chinese food.
Okay.
Am I wrong? No, I miss it, for real. I mean, I have Vietnamese food here, but, like, I want, like, pho. Like, sit down and eat pho. But that'll probably be my first thing to definitely do. As lame as that sounds.
No, it's very realistic, I guarantee you.
I definitely want to get to the beach. I love the beach. It's almost my birthday. I really want to go. The other day was actually my brother's graduation. He graduated from high school, so I, like, did this drive-by graduation. So, like, our loved ones got to, like, drive by in their car and, like, congratulate him and stuff. It was really cool. But definitely gonna go to Bel Air and eat. I'm gonna go to the beach. I went to get a co-working space membership, which is, like, a place where freelancers and, like, small businesses go and, like, rent out, like, an office, but it's also, like, a shared space. So I want to get one of those because, yeah. Also, I feel like when I get out of here, I'm just talk to everyone. But I think that's what I'm gonna do the first thing. Yeah. Oh, but I mean, I should probably see my family too. No, but I mean, I see them. I feel like this quarantine has kind of brought me closer to them because I FaceTime them, and then, like, I live with them. I'm, like, trapped in the house with them. So yeah, definitely the Chinese food or the Asian food, definitely.
Yeah.